Hello, welcome to RevelatorAlf for another special of My Harley. I've got a special guest with me today, all the way from over there. It's the motor barista from Australia. Hello.
G'day, Alf. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, very well, thank you. Very well, and thanks for joining me on this day. So we're going to be talking all about Harleys and sport glides and all that kind of stuff. But first of all, tell us a little bit about yourself and your channel and what you do.
Actually, you might not know, I'm an Englishman. I was born in the UK, and that's where I began riding. And then my family emigrated when I was about 13, 14 years old to sunny Australia.
Right.
And now I'm very happy that we did move here. I ride all year round. This year picked up my first Harley Davidson, started making a YouTube channel, and just kind of sunk my teeth more into kind of just the Harley and the V-twin culture, which I've just really fallen in love with. Yeah.
So what I love about your channel is kind of very cinematic, you know, the pictures, the tones, you're telling a story, which is completely opposite to what I do, really.
Yeah.
Mine is just like, right, info, there you go, have a bit of that. You seem to take a lot of time over your content.
Yeah, I mean, I love what you do as well with that information. That's the kind of channels that I like to watch myself. I think just my skills and my love as well is definitely storytelling.
Yeah,
I've always loved film. I've always loved novels and kind of telling a story, making people feel something.
Yeah.
And so when I kind of decided to make a YouTube channel and an Instagram page, I thought, what do I want to do that's true to me, but also gives myself hopefully a bit of a point of difference and makes my work seem recognizable. And yeah, I just kind of want to dig deep into a bit more of a cinematic feel, play around with the feel and the colors, and hopefully drive some emotion and some feeling through those videos as well. As well as some information and some stories.
Yeah. So you're based in Perth, is that correct?
Yeah, Perth. That's Western Australia. So the only major city in Western Australia.
And what's the population out there?
2 million in the city. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So our land mass of Western Australia is about the size of Texas and Alaska put together.
Wow.
And we have one major city of Perth of 2 million people. So there is a lot of free land.
Yeah, sure. So do you actually get out into the outback or to the boonies or whatever you call it a lot, or is it more you kind of stay within the confines of?
I mean, look, like if you really want to get up and explore, it's a big trip. But every year, and I try and do multiple trips down to the south coastline. So we're talking maybe 4, 5, sometimes 7 hours, depending how far you go on the motorcycle. Right. And that's beautiful down there. It's long coastlines of good surf where they have the World Surf competitions.
All right.
We've got the Margaret River wine region, famous wine region down there, and just beautiful forests. So that's really great for camping.
Yeah.
If you head north, then you've got the Coral Coast. So you've just got about 10 hours north. You've got the biggest onshore reef in the world.
Right.
And it's just just stunning snorkeling, stunning scenery and coastline. So yeah, there's a lot to see and a beautiful landscape here. You just got to be prepared to drive for it.
Yeah, absolutely. But and also you got to take care as well. Plan your trips because you're going out into the middle of nowhere, especially with your kind of conditions. I mean, it's it's not a mugs game over there, is it? I mean, it's
no, that's it. It's one road in, one road out, and not very many stops in between.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, on that point, let's say would you go by car? Or would you go by bike?
If I'm by myself, I'm always on the bike.
Yeah. So, are there many fuel stops along the way, or? Oh, okay. On the main route, you're fine.
Fuel stops are fine. There's always, kind of truck stops, and there are lots of like really small, tiny towns along the way. Often, kind of agricultural towns or mining towns sometimes as well.
Right.
So that's not a problem. I haven't had any kind of incidents breaking down or flats or anything like that.
Right.
I think if that was to happen and you weren't prepared for it, then you might have a bit of trouble getting a tow truck out there in any sort of time.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. So you have to be a bit more self-reliant or resilient, really, to be riding out there.
Yeah, I think just be a bit more aware, plan
Yeah,
ahead,
okay.
make sure people know where you're going to be going, and, know your closest stops along the way.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure. Well, so
Take your tires.
if many of you don't know, so Western Australia, well, the whole of Western Australia, the whole of Australia, really, if you come away from the coast, go inland,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's a barren location. It is. I mean,
It really is.
and lots of people get into trouble really
Yeah.
quickly, don't they?
Yeah,
With the
definitely.
heat, no
Especially it's
water,
hot.
ice,
Yeah.
all that sort of stuff. So it's
That's
people
it.
think, oh, Australia, it's fantastic. Actually, it's a very dangerous place if you're not prepared for it, and
Yeah, that's it. And I mean, like you said, Australia is huge. It's the size of continental USA.
yeah, exactly.
And
Yeah.
all of our cities are on the edge, right
Yeah.
around the coast. 25
Sure.
million people total in the country.
Yeah.
It's just so much space in the middle there.
Yeah.
But beautiful as well. There's a couple of good roads going straight through the middle of Australia, going north to south or east to west, and you can jump on the bike on some great highways, and you can see some really cool stuff and some really cool towns.
Yeah. So unfortunately, Australia right now is suffering, or has been for a long time, but not only with a heat wave, but also with a lot of forest fires, bushfires. But that's on the eastern coast, right?
Well, really everywhere.
Really?
I looked this morning, everywhere is having fires. We're a little bit better off here in Perth. Perth is my favorite climate, just because our climate here is so consistent. We don't have the extremes that the East Coast has or the North has. So we're a bit luckier. Our fires aren't often quite as severe, but we are having them. But yeah, unfortunately, the East Coast, New South Wales, Victoria, and even other spots are absolutely engulfed in flames at the moment, which is horrific.
Yeah, I literally just on the news just now, and it was just, I see a whole town has had to evacuate, and they've actually gone onto the beach now. But terrible things. Well, hopefully this will all sort itself out at some point. But anyway, let's get on to more important stuff, really. Let's talk about motorbikes, shall we? Are you ready for the Dirty Dozen questions? These are really serious questions that, Oh, look, you get some Dutch courage down you, I see. Good man.
Oh, yeah. Happy New Year's Eve, everyone.
Yeah, Happy New Year.
This is coming to you from New Year's Eve.
Yeah, I'm with a coffee.
Yeah. Irish?
No, just normal. It's a bit too early for me, honestly. Yeah, so this is recorded on New Year's Eve, by the way. So this when this comes out, it will be a little bit past the day. But anyway, we're wishing everybody a happy New Year, prosperous New Year as well. Right. Indeed. So the first question is, I already know this, of course, because I watch your channel. I know your stuff, right? Okay, but tell us about what you're riding right now.
So I am riding a 2019 Harley Davidson Sport Glide.
Just like me.
Indeed, just like Alf. Yeah. It's fantastic. I love my bike so much. Yeah. I've had it for coming up to 1 year. So the 3rd of Jan will be the 1 year mark.
Bro.
Yeah.
And what were you riding before?
So before that was actually my first road bike, which was a Ducati Scrambler.
Okay, yeah, nice bike.
So I started racing motocross. That's how I got into motorcycles. So I've been racing and riding motocross bikes since I was about 6 years old.
Nice.
And didn't get onto a road bike until I was about 23, 24.
Right, okay.
Yeah, so it was kind of, onto the road, onto a Ducati, mainly just because, one, it was a great bike to jump on to start off with, but also our licensing laws here in Australia. And then once I had my full kind of open license, I was able to jump onto a big bike, onto a Harley.
Oh, right, great. Well, when I started off, when I was all those years ago now, crikey, dirt bike riding, scrambling, motocrossing, I loved all that. So,
indeed,
it still is. It's still one of my first loves of motorcycling in any form. I love it. Right. Yeah. Okay, great. So you love the Sport Glide. You make videos about it. I mean, is there anything that you would say that needs to change about the Sport Glide? I mean, this is kind of a side issue, really. It's not part of the main question. Or would you say, you know what, it's perfect as it is?
Look, I am the type of person that hates to leave any motorcycle stock. So
really?
every time I see a motorcycle, to me, it's a starting point, for the kind of overall vision of, you know, a bike that really fits me personally.
Right. Okay.
One thing that I would love the Sport Glide to have come with, and probably something that I won't do to it just because of the expense, is dual disc front brakes.
Yeah.
Now, this is something I didn't think I would need when I first was riding it, but then after riding the Harley touring bikes with those dual disc Brembos, I was really impressed with the biting power. And then I rode the Lowrider S with those dual discs as well, and I was like, this would make the Sport Glide absolutely phenomenal. It's not a deal breaker by any means, but once you do use those dual discs, it's just really nice to have, and it gives you a lot more confidence in the corners.
Right. Yeah. I think that's a common request, I think, by a lot of people. They were saying, and you know, I think they could have done a lot more with the Sport Glide. I'm perfectly happy as it is. I think the braking is certainly adequate. It's certainly good enough. But you're absolutely right. I think they could have done a little bit more with it. But
I think coming in like with future models, I wouldn't be surprised if we see Harley bring out a FXRT style Sport Glide. Given the rising popularity in that in the culture right now. Should they have done it to start off with? I'm not sure. I love the bike as it is. Maybe something in the future they'll do.
Interesting. I made a video about that a while back, and Matt Laidlaw actually came on and commented on the on the video, which is really cool. Thought, wow, cool.
Yeah, definitely.
You watch my videos. But you know, I said at the time, actually, and I said in various live streams, that the battle of the kings, if you like, and all these you know custom builders around the world, actually they're giving important data to Harley.
Sure. Definitely.
And if Harley as a company kind of ignore trends, then they're kind of missing the boat, really. They need to sort of take those keys and start injecting that into bikes. And if I'm not saying on the Sport Glide in particular, but I'm saying is that if they're going to have or continue with the Sport Glide, one major upgrade will be a dual disc front end or something like that.
Yeah. I think Harley are listening as well. I think a lot of people give Harley Davidson in particular a lot of criticism for some of their decision making, but more so their lack of communication, with customers. And I don't think that's the case. I think they are listening because I think this is a professional company and people working there are intelligent people. I think the time from when they hear these comments to the time of execution is a little bit more delayed because they are a big company. There's a lot that goes into it. And I think that sometimes that we can get a little bit caught up in that. We're a bit faster moving with trends, but obviously the motor company is going to be always, a year or a few years behind. Yeah.
Also, what a lot of people don't realize, it's not only the design or the thought process of the design and the manufacturing, which can take a bit of time, but actually not a great deal of time. What really takes the time is the certification, not only in your own country, but in, let's say, in the United States, for example, you need different certifications for each state. Then you need a total one. Then you need European certification, Africa, and whatever. It's crazy, absolutely crazy. So
indeed.
Okay, great, right. Well answered. I like that. Thanks very much. Next question. This is going to be really thing. I suppose we've already touched on it a little bit, but you're in Perth. But what's the kind of biking scene like up there? Not just for Harleys, but anything.
So. First of all, the roads in Perth are pretty flat and pretty straight for the most part.
Right.
You can push out into quotation mark hills, the very, very exaggeration to call them hills. And there are some really nice short twisty roads through there, but nothing like you experience in other places around the world. Right. If you do push further south, you'll find some beautiful roads through the forest. But in general, roads are pretty flat. So I think this really kind of bridges this connection between Australia and America when it comes to that V-twin market, that cruiser market, because everything is about traversing the continent. So that's definitely kind of what it's like here in terms of riding every day. In terms of culture, outside of Harley Davidson, There's a pretty big adventure bike scene. You know, we have a lot of desert here.
Yeah, sure.
So there's a lot of that, a lot of dirt bike culture, lots of open ground just to be able to go and tear up on a dirt bike,
nice.
which is really great.
Is that free access to that?
Yeah,
land?
yeah. There's a lot of free access.
Nice.
Yeah, there's some really cool spots, you know, like on sand dunes. There's some cool spots through some like pine forests. Yeah, it can be a little bit sketchy because, you know, everybody's going there, and not everybody is as, you know, clean and, you know, keeps everything clean as nice as we would.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But there's some great places to go out and explore. So yeah, there's some really cool stuff. And apart from that, like you've got your cafe racer scene, which is pretty big in like in the city. Yeah. Harley Davidson, I would say, I would say that the best selling bike that I would predict in Perth at least would be the Breakout. Everybody, everybody here in Australia still seems to be on that kind of drag style bike. I'll still see V-rods more than any other Harley Davidson on the roads.
I never see a V-rod. Never.
I can't believe how many
rarely.
I see. Yeah. So, you know, I'm here like watching, you know, everyone over on YouTube like building up club style bikes and, you know, road glides with T-bars on it. And then I go out riding and everyone's still got, you know, these drag bikes, which is cool. It just shows like a very different culture. So yeah, everything's Breakouts. Everybody's rocking Vance and Hines, you know, short shots. It's a weird thing. And I think when I pull up on a Sport Glide with like a 2-into-1 and carbon fiber air cleaner, people are like, oh, like this is a Harley that looks like it's supposed to go fast.
right. Yeah, absolutely. No, but I kind of like that. I like sort of a bike scene that is not necessarily slaves to fashion or slaves to trend. You know, I kind of like that. You know, this whole kind of club style. I'm in two minds about it, and you know, people ask me, "Is it going to stick around forever?" And I say, "I don't know," but just like anything, it will come and go. I'm sure, you know.
I mean, I love the club style movement. Like for me, coming from a motocross background, like I love big motocross bars.
Yeah.
But one of the things that pulled me onto a Harley Davidson wasn't necessarily just the performance. It was really the whole feel and the look and the beauty and the nostalgia of the bike.
Yeah.
And I just didn't want to get rid of that. I didn't want to change that. So
yeah, absolutely.
Each to their own. I love.
Absolutely. That's right. As you said right at the start, it's a starting block for a lot of people, and you just make it into whatever you want. I mean, I don't necessarily care for the club style. I like, you know, sort of straight bars, straight drag bars type thing, and motocross bars. You know, that's what I would naturally lean towards. And if I was going to change the bars on my bike, it would be that kind of thing. But nothing very high at all. I thought I would. Interestingly, I thought I would go for the ape hangers or something like that up here, but no, completely changed my mind since I've been riding it. So
I was close.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Let's get rid of that. Next question. Then you're doing great, by the way. Fantastic answers. You know, I wish I was as articulate, but there we go. Right. What do you think of the technology on your bike on the Sport Glide? Would you like more or less? Now, I asked this based upon this year, 2019, into 2020. They've changed the Taurus a little bit. They've introduced in this RDRS, and you've already talked about the dual disc front end. Do you think it needs more? Do you think it needs less?
I don't think it needs less. I think ABS is one, nice to have, and two, just legal. You know, you have to have it now on bikes in Australia, and I think
same here in Europe. Yeah.
So that's one thing. The RDRS. So I've test rode a few of the touring bikes with RDRS. I pushed those bikes through some really nice roads through the hills, and never did the system ever kick in. So really, that system is there as a kind of fail-safe, you know, you know, worst case scenario. So do I think that would it be nice to have that? Yes, because it's not going to interfere with my normal riding, and it would be nice to have it just in case I do need it, particularly let's say you're riding in the rain or you hit some gravel patch in a corner. But do you absolutely need it? No, you don't need it. If you have the skill to handle a motorcycle, you know how to apply brakes before a corner, and you understand friction in a corner and how to, you know, apply the throttle smoothly when you need to. You don't need those systems, but again, they're nice to have in those moments that you don't expect. I'm pretty happy with the technology, to be honest. I don't want any fancy gauges or dials on this bike. I like keeping things quite minimal. I like having just, you know, my speedometer and my RPMs, and, you know, I can check my reserve fuel and I'm good to go. That's all I would really want. So yeah, I like feeling more in touch with the bike. And just and listening to the engine and feeling the engine and enjoying the bike for what it is.
Oh, great. Yeah, so I think if there was only one thing that possibly I would change on the Sport Glide in terms of technology, is I wouldn't necessarily add to it. I'm not really after loads of tech. But for me, because I'm quite a tall rider as well, the instrument module, especially speedometer, I'd probably like it a little bit higher up. I'd like it a little bit more towards where the handlebars are, just so I'm not kind of dipping down.
Always
so much,
looking
really.
down. Yeah, that's fair
actually,
enough.
somebody from, I'm sure it's from Australia, I think on my channel, kept on, I was asking me about remote speedometers, change the speedometer, you know, mount it on the handlebars, and I had a look into it. I mean, it's certainly doable, but you know, to say each to their own what they want to do, really, you know. But
and also, I think you can find bikes in the lineup that might also fit that requirement for some people as well. You know, for example, like a street barb where you've got you know, the gauge in the handlebars themselves. The low riders have a higher gauge, and obviously you got your touring bikes too. So I think there is something in the lineups for everyone. But in terms of actual technology, I really like the bike how it is. And I see a lot of people on the YouTube comments, you know, complaining always about, you know, Harley Davidson's quote, you know, lack of technology. And to be honest, you know, I rode some, you know, BMW adventure bikes the other day and some KTM adventure bikes, and they had loads of tech, but like I just felt swamped in a bunch of information that I didn't need and options that I was never going to use. That at a certain point, it becomes too much, at least for certain types of riders, and that's kind of where I'm at.
It's interesting you say that. I went into a BMW garage. My last bike was a Triumph Explorer adventure bike. So cool. You know, I love all that sort of off-road riding as well. I'm not one of those riders who, you know, get an adventure bike and never take it off-road, you know, so it's supposed to be off-road. Anyway, I was shopping around and I went to ride all the big adventure bikes before I bought it. And I went into the BMW dealership and I took this out and I took it back in. I said, look, hey, great bike. Too heavy for what you need, but a great bike. But you got too much tech on here, too many gizmos.
So many buttons and dials.
And I said, you know, why do you need it? And he said, oh, well, our customers, you know, demand that kind of thing. That's what they want. I said, I'm not sure they want it. I'm sure you're just giving it to them and they might be using it, but I'm not even sure anybody uses this stuff. Very rarely.
I think people like to have a lot of this stuff on the spec sheet because it validates their purchase decision or it validates their motorcycle over another. And this is just me speaking as, you know, a generalization. Some people will use this information, but I think in general, I think it's a selling point. I think people like that and they like that on the spec sheet. But you're right. Sometimes it's just like on that BMW, I couldn't believe how many you know, different buttons and things I didn't even think were buttons are actually dials. And
I know, crazy,
so much.
Crazy. Look, I suppose you could say the same thing about anybody with a, you know, V-twin or a Harley. They start upstaging it past, let's say, stage 2. They get into 3 and 4, and some, you know, crazy bonkers stuff that people do to their bikes. And you say, are you ever really? Come on, hand on heart, are you ever really going to use that power? And most people, no, unless they're at the traffic lights, then they just blip the throttle. That's about it. Most people never do, you know.
Inverted Öhlins front suspension kind of beckons that same environment there.
Yeah, that's it. Let's just change it all because we really need it. No, you don't. You don't need it at all. But that's just me. You know, I'm kind of, you know. That's right. Right. Let's ride the bike first of all, and then see what you need. You know, and then exactly. I'm all for a bit of power and everything. But there we go. Right. Okay. Indeed. Enough about. I'll get off the soapbox because I do tend to. A lot of force you to drink. That's what it is. Have another. Good man. Right. Okay. So here's the next question. Now we've kind of already answered this. You got into riding, motocrossing and everything from the UK. You went over to Perth and everything. But what is your best time riding, or what's your best experience riding? Now, not necessarily on a Harley, but any bike that you've had.
All right. So I'll give you two stories. One will be non-Harley. One will be on the Harley. So the first one was on my Ducati Scrambler, and I actually had that whilst I was living over in Victoria, in Melbourne, Australia.
Right. Yeah.
And one day I kind of just I took the bike out into the rainforests and had a beautiful ride along these twisty roads. And I got to this point where my GPS was telling me to turn off and take this other road, back to the next town. And I pull across and I look at this road, and it's just a single track, and no one else on the traffic on the main road is going down this road at all. And I went, all right, screw it. This is where this is where I'm supposed to go. Let's go. Yeah. So I'm riding my bike down there and having a great time through this rainforest. And all of a sudden, halfway through, it turns to gravel. And I was like, I've got some knobbly tires on. Let's just keep going. Yeah. And it turned into this maybe 30-kilometer twisty gravel road through the rainforest. And I was just under the treetops by myself, just shredding this Ducati around corners and having the time of my life. It was just surreal. It was amazing.
Brilliant. Yeah.
Absolutely fantastic. And the whole time I was wondering, am I going to run out of fuel? When is this road going to end? What happens if I, stack this bike? Like, there's no signal, no one's around here, no one's coming down this road.
Yeah,
but, just that adrenaline just made it all the more exciting. It was really good fun.
Fantastic.
And then the best ride I've had on my Harley Davidson was earlier this year. I went down to a major motocross event we have in the Southwest Coast, and I kind of turned a big long weekend into it and just took the bike, strapped a tent to the back, and spent a few nights just camping in the forests and watching motocross and driving down the coastline, and just had a great time.
Lovely. I love that. Right. Okay. Here's the next question then. What modifications you made on your Sport Glide, and they're worth the money? Why?
Nice. Okay. So the first modification I made was the seat, and it was not for me necessarily. It was more for my girlfriend. She wanted something comfortable to jump on the back, so I switched to a Saddleman Explorer. And I got the sissy bar and back pad for that. That was definitely worth the money because she would finally jump on the back and happily go for some long rides. It's also really comfortable for the rider. So Saddleman seats were really fantastic. I've done stage 1, so I have an S&S 2-into-1 Super Street pipe on there.
Nice.
With the S&S carbon fiber teardrop. Obviously, and that's tuned, so that was fantastic. Gives you that beautiful sound. Gives a little bit more pep on the throttle response. Everything just feels just a tiny little bit snappier. Obviously, the bike's just breathing a little bit better. Power difference, definitely some, but not massive. It's more just in the kind of the overall kind of feeling and the response of the bike. Just everything just feels a bit snappier and better. I've thrown a windshield on there, so I've taken the stock fairing off, threw a Memphis Shades windshield on there to give it a bit more. It looks really good. Kind of just gives it. I felt a little bit more of a sport touring look, which I really liked. Apart from that, a few other cosmetics, but I am planning on doing a stage 2 cam in the new year. I've been doing a little bit of photography work for the local dealer here, and they want to work with me putting a cam in there. So we're looking at the Redshift 468, and that should I think really kind of open up the Milwaukee 8. I think everything that I've kind of heard from techs and research is that this engine has so much capacity, so much capability of doing amazing things, and obviously just with all of those restrictions and EPA requirements, that they just have to kind of strangle it all up. And your stage 1 is your first step in really kind of opening up that engine, and stage 2 is where that engine really starts to come into its full capacity.
That's my plans as well for go up to a stage 2 talk cam as well.
That's as far as I'll go.
That's where I'm going to go as well. But
I think after that you have the diminishing returns.
Absolutely. Yeah, so lots of people probably get carried away with what they do, and they actually end up.
Yeah.
Unless you're doing it for yourself, and you know that that is a lifer bike, you're never going to sell it. Then fine, fill your boots, go and spend whatever you want to spend.
Yeah.
But if there's a chance that maybe in 4 or 5 years' time, whatever, you might be getting something else.
Yeah.
I would be quite conservative with what you're doing on your bike. Don't go crazy, because it affects the value of it. It definitely does.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Let's have a look. What other modifications would you do? Forget about what other modifications you should do. What do you think should be standard on your bike? But let's open it up wider to Harleys.
What should be standard?
Yeah.
So look, we talked about dual disc front brakes. In terms of technology, like I said, I'm pretty happy with all of that. I think really a different way. I'm gonna kind of sidestep your question and kind of turn it into something else, which is more. Is there a different way for Harley to sell bikes going into the future? We have a clear decline in motorcycle sales. Harley obviously taking quite a big brunt of that. And it kind of made me think a little bit more about, what could Harley offer differently that would offer a different customer service and a different way to buy a motorcycle. And I look at like Tesla, for example, in the electric car world, and how you purchase a car through them. Obviously, I would never purchase a Tesla car. But,
sure.
But the way that they do it, obviously, you choose your base model and you start to spec it out the way that you want.
Yes.
And, you're looking at different interior changes or little performance packages here, whatever accessories or modifications it might be from the factory. And I think that this could be a really good way to see Harley Davidson in particular going forward with possibly what they could offer their customers, because they know that their customers want to make changes to their motorcycle. And we know that they want to sell, aftermarket parts to their customers as well. And I think that could just be a better way to give customers that value by offering it straight from the factory. Being able to make those, seat changes before ordering the bike. And obviously this means that you are going to pay a premium because you're not buying off the shop floor. But at the same time, you might be saving money by not having to swap out a stock seat, but you'll be able to start with the seat that you want, or be able to start with the exhaust you want, or whatever it might be. I think this could be a really cool thing to see. Changing up the purchasing dynamic in motorcycles.
I completely agree. I completely, I was just, one of the reasons I asked this question is actually for me, it was a seat. It was a seating option to say, well, actually, instead of having this one option which you can buy, why don't you offer a range of seats that you can say, okay, this is a range of seats that you can have on your bike as a stock bike. Which one do you want? And you think, well, actually, I'm probably going to take my wife on the back, or I'm being mostly solo riding. There we go. I'll choose that one. And that's it. That's all they have to do. And it's not a major. It's not a major problem for them. Just make simple adjustments to the way they sell bikes. But
I think it could be a really cool experience for customers.
Absolutely, absolutely right. Okay, next question then. Look, what other Harley or motorcycle would you like to own next, or ride next, and where would you like to ride it?
Okay, so I would love to ride the Livewire when it finally makes its way to Australia.
Ooh. That's my Australian poisonous snake.
Everything that I've seen online about that bike is nothing but praise.
Apart
from the price tag, let's just
put
the
price
tag. But even the range, I've seen people saying that it's hitting more than what they say out of the box, just because of the regen. So, look, price is what it is. You're paying for brand new technology. You are paying for a premium motorcycle. Harley Davidson is premium, and if you can tell by sitting on any Harley Davidson and feeling the difference compared to other motorcycles, you can feel that difference, in my opinion, in the quality. So you are going to be paying for that, and mainly paying for that new technology. But I think the bike looks amazing, and I think it's obviously going to ride incredible. And I would love to just experience what that electric motor feels like. So I'd love to ride that.
Have you got any over in Perth?
No,
Anybody? No.
no, not yet. I don't think they make their way over to Australia until next year.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. Right.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. So there's not even Australia yet.
Do you know
So
if your dealer is going to be, one of the official live wire
I am not sure.
dealerships? Right.
They will stick to the East Coast probably for the first 6 months
Right.
at
Sure.
least. Yeah, and then they'll come because again, East Coast, you've got bigger cities, you've got more densely populated cities. So
Yeah.
a bike like that makes more sense.
Yeah. Sure.
Whereas here in Perth, we are very spread out. So
Yeah.
you're not going to get far on our live wire here.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely see it as an urban bike, as an urban toy bike, or
Yeah.
commuting bike. Yeah, definitely. Okay,
Yeah.
look, next question. Here's what is your favorite Harley of all time? But okay, you can even include a non-Harley. You can include any bike of all time. And
No,
if you say Sport Glide, I'm going to be very impressed.
Sport Glide would be a cop out. I think it was an amazing bike, and it was the one that spoke to me when I test rode bikes. But I think one bike in particular that always strikes me is actually, you know what? The one bike that made me change my opinion and perception of Harley Davidson, and that was the new Fat Bob.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Yeah, I think when I first saw that a couple of years ago, when I was looking at getting into cruisers, I think that's when I saw that bike and went, Harley's starting to speak to me more.
Yeah,
and that kind of opened up the gateway into more of the brand and then just getting myself kind of comfortable with the brand and just learning about the history and getting into all their motorcycles. And I think that's kind of then led me to the Street Glide as just, I think, the quintessential Harley Davidson, so to speak.
Yeah.
I think if there was one bike in the Harley lineup that you would say this is a Harley, I think it would be the Street Glide. I think it's just got so much nostalgia. I think the Batwing, the Electro Glide history, I think it just speaks so much to adventure, open road, and just kind of freedom in general. And that's just my jam.
So I like that Street Glide a lot. I'd say, it's not for me, but I like it a lot. I love the Sport Glide, and I agree with you in that I've ridden Harleys, for many years, or tried different ones, and I love the Street Bob on the Dyna. I love. I kind of not so keen on the Fat Bob on the Dyna, but I liked the old Harleys to a certain degree. There's only one or two I liked. Most of them I didn't like, but it was only until they changed the Softail chassis. Then a friend of mine, I tell the story quite a lot. A friend of mine said, "Hey, go and try these new Harleys," and I was just like, okay, I'll go and have a look. He said, "Try that Sport Glide." Anyway, so the kind of guy I am, I wanted to try them all, so I went to try them all. But I tell you, it was the Sport Glide that really, really did it for me.
Yeah, me too.
But of right across the range on the Softails, it was just the way they rode. For me, a bike is the way it looks has got to be on point. But it's actually got to ride properly. And if it doesn't ride properly, I'm out of there. But I always liked that Street Glide. I absolutely did. But it's just not right for in the narrow roads which I'm riding on, having to move it in and out of the garage, squeezing in between cars, all that kind of stuff. Whereas where you are, perfect. Open roads, off you go. Yeah,
I think I would wait. I think that we're going to see a change in the touring lineup over the next, I want to say year, but it could be a couple of years with Harley. I think that, I think looking at the touring bikes now, particularly the specials, they're based on the big wheel bagger movement that came before the performance bagger movement that we have now. We can see that with the lowered shocks. We can see that with the stretch bags.
Sure.
And I think that going forward, obviously, Harley's going to notice the big move to the club scene, to the performance baggers. Obviously, Indian with their Challenger. I think they're going to start changing over to a more performance focused touring lineup as well. So I think that if I was ever going to look into a touring bike, I would definitely happily wait for a few years and see what they have in store.
Sure. Have you got an Indian dealership over in Perth?
Yeah, I get on with the guys there really well. I've test rode all the bikes.
Yeah. Are they?
Except the Challenger, we don't have it.
Are they sort of popular bikes out there?
Yeah, I've seen a few. Mainly, I don't really see any of the new ones.
Right.
I don't see any of the new touring bikes. I see a lot of the older touring bikes, like the vintages,
Yeah.
just because they do a lot of good deals on them right now.
Sure.
And I see a lot of new scouts and scout bobbers.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I don't see any, Chieftain dark horses or
Oh,
new
right. Okay.
Springfield dark
Yeah.
horses, which is a bit of a surprise. But I don't really see them
Yeah.
around as much. But
Okay.
yeah, good bikes.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
really
No,
like
I
the
agree.
Scout.
I like them. I'm not so keen on the Scout front ends, with the headlights or the way
No,
that's designed. That I mean, then again, I don't really like the Harley Road King front end light nacelle either.
yeah.
But in terms of the actual bike, I like the Dark Horse, the Chieftain. I like that.
Mm.
I like the I can't remember which Indian it is with the bobber, but it's just got a
Oh
very
yeah.
small headlight. I forgot what it is now. But that's right. But in general, I do like Indians. I think
What I found about Indians is that obviously people like them because I think on the spec sheet they look really good, like that, and they feel good as well. That monoshock is really nice on the touring bikes. There's a few kind of creature comforts that are really nice as well. My biggest thing with Indians, as much as I had so much fun on them, was when I moved over to like a Harley equivalent, I just felt like there was just a little bit more quality in the fit and finish. There was just a little bit more, just tactile feel of everything. The dials, the buttons, the levers, everything just felt a little bit more solid and premium.
Yeah.
I always compare it to people about going from a Samsung phone to an iPhone.
Yeah.
And I was on Samsung for the last kind of 5 years and, loved it. And the specs are amazing.
Yeah.
And when I held like the new iPhone in my hand and I felt like the weight and the premium matte glass feel, just that extra tactile finish, you can't tell anybody that. You can't pass that on in a spec sheet or a review. And I think that's the difference between Indian and Harley right now for me.
Yeah.
So it'd be cool to see Indian kind of lift their game in the kind of fit and finish realm. And it'd be cool to see Harley come head to toe to toe with some of the performance aspects that Indian are offering as well.
Yeah, I think I keep on saying Harley need to watch their backs really, because Indian aren't there yet in terms of competing or in terms of a proper threat, but they're coming. They're coming, and and you will just watch themselves. Right? Okay, let's change direction a little bit here.
Yeah.
Obviously, you're into YouTube and Instagram and really cool stuff that you're doing. But what kind of motorcycle media do you enjoy watching or reading or whatever?
I will watch all kind of the motocross and supercross events from around the world. I usually kind of try and watch those either on YouTube after the fact or try and live stream if it's something big. So I'm watching all of the American, national competition. I'm watching their supercross. I'm watching the MXGPs for the world MXGPs. So I really love motocross. I think to me, motocross is like the peak in motorcycle racing. I think it's just the overall motorcycle athlete. So that's what I'm watching, a lot of that, and then I'm watching a lot of adventure bike riding on YouTube, and watching a lot of kind of how-to videos for Harleys. Lots of kind of build series. I like watching kind of engine work because that's really not my strong suit. I'm kind of like Tom Cruise in Days of Thunder. Like I know how to ride fast, and I'm trying to learn as much as I can about the internals and the operations of the engines and the bikes themselves. So that's kind of what I spend most of my time doing. As well. Cool. Yeah.
You into? Will you be watching the Dakar?
Yeah, I'll watch some of that. I only started watching that. I think maybe I watched all the highlights from last year, and just love how gnarly that competition is.
I do. It's one of my favorite races of all. Of the year. Well, it is my favorite race of the year. I love it. Absolutely love it.
A friend of mine I used to race motocross with back in the UK. He's racing for KTM Enduro now over in Europe, and just actually raced in the MX Nations for Team Great Britain.
Wow.
Nathan Watson, great rider. And I watch him race on like the the beach races. Just again brutal, just long distance sand. Just putting that bike and the body through the paces. I think
it's just got everything.
Fantastic.
It's just got everything that I love. about pushing the body and the bike to the limit. I absolutely love it. I absolutely love it.
Yeah, good stuff.
But right, okay, next question then. We've already talked about the live wire, so we won't really talk about that. What do you think about the Pan America and I suppose the Bronx bikes that will be coming out?
Cool. So I think that I am very excited for the Pan America. Like I said, I've been test riding a bunch of adventure bikes because I like them. And it's always something I think about, getting one day in the future. And after riding some of those bikes, it really gave me hope, and I could see the position in the market that Harley could take. And that is the BMW, like we discussed, is a bit over the top with electronics. I also found it a little bit boring as well.
Sure.
It did everything amazingly well, but just didn't excite me. I rode the KTM 1290, fantastic bike. Loads and loads of horsepower. It was absolutely brutal holding onto those handlebars sometimes. And was really light and felt quite small. But my problem is that it just looks ugly. It has the adventure bike, disease.
Sure.
So it makes me think that there is definitely there's a space in the market for Harley Davidson to really bring a bike that is, looks good, has really nice styling cues that Harley is known for, really nice lines, bringing in some nostalgia in the lines, and also giving a bike that has some character in the day-to-day riding, because these bikes aren't just made for off-road, they're made for everything. And everything for me also means, traffic light hopping on my way to work. And I want Harley Davidson to deliver a bike that works well in the street, works well on the road on the tour, and also can handle off-road. It doesn't need to handle off-road the way a KTM can handle off-road. It doesn't need to be able to do that. Not all adventure bikes have to be amazing in every single area. They just, have to be able to do everything to a certain extent. And I think Harley could definitely bring a bike that brings the character and the fun, the feeling to that everyday adventure bike. So it gives me a lot of excitement.
I with the Pan America especially, I won't talk about the Bronx, but the Pan America, I like the liquid cooled engine. I like that. I like Harley have actually gone this way. I think it's been really crucial because it would never get anywhere without that in the adventure bike market. No chance. I like the way they're having an attempt at it and breaking new ground and going into, well, when I say breaking new ground or going, they've had a rich history of off-road riding from, 50, 60 years ago, of course. I'm talking about now. I'm talking about now that I like that. What initially I thought, why have you released all this info about the Pan America and the Bronx? But actually there isn't a lot of info and everybody's picking holes in it already. Like me, I've been picking holes in it, saying that radiator is way too low. You need to bring it up. You need to split it, because it's just going to break down within a couple of minutes. But actually, on reflection, I think that's a really good idea that they've done. Because they're getting data, they're getting feedback, they're learning from people who have experience of off-road riding, adventure bike riding, and say, actually, when we bring this to market, we can make those subtle changes and we'll have a bike that's not only going to be good on price, it's going to be capable. It doesn't have to be fantastic. It's going to be capable off-road. It's going to be capable in town. And you know what? It's going to give people a different Harley experience. People want to come over to Harley, let's say. They don't necessarily want the cruiser, but they may want an option. They may want a street bike, or they may want a, adventure bike. There we go. Job done.
Yeah, I agree. I think that they can definitely listen to I think they are listening to their customers.
Yeah, I think so.
And I think that people who are jumping on the gun saying, Harley won't be able to deliver in the suspension or won't be able to deliver in off-road capabilities, I would just say, look, just wait and see what happens, because for the first time, Harley are entering a market that they don't dominate.
Yeah, exactly right.
It means they have to compete. They have no doubt hired some of the best engineers to work on this bike. They have no doubt they have a GS 1250 and a KTM 1290 sitting there in the test rooms next to their Pan Americas, and they're putting them all through their paces side by side. There is no doubt that is happening. The one thing I am surprised about is I thought that they would do a mid-year release for the Pan America just before the summer riding season in the Northern Hemisphere.
Yeah.
Because to me, that seems like the best time to launch a bike like this.
Yeah.
You know, a bike that is designed to get out and adventure off-road and see amazing places, particularly, you know, mostly likely done in the summer. I think that launching it just before that season would have been a home run, particularly for their social media coverage that they would have got on that bike.
Yeah.
So I'm surprised that that didn't happen.
Yeah. Look, I think they've got to hit this just right. And if they hit it just right, I think it might be a success.
I do, yeah.
The engine, I think, will be a success. I think there's going to be a lot of latitude with that engine. You know,
I think it already has been with the, you know, it comes from, you know, the original Revolution engine from the V-Rods. I know so many people who are raving about those engines and absolutely love them. And, you know, that was a time where Harley was just ahead of the industry for once. So I think it will be good.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, this is, as you said, this is not their first time in the liquid-cooled engine market. So absolutely right. Okay, right. Next question then. Here we go. As a company, let's say, as a Harley Davidson brand, you know, what do they have to do to compete not only with, you know, let's say the likes of Indian, or fend off Indian, and let's say that's probably a better way to say it. But what about, you know, competing with the likes of Honda, Suzuki, Kawasaki, whatever, BMW? What do they have to do?
I think Harley has to stick to their roots. I think they have to stick to what their brand has been known to represent, you know, generation after generation, which is a bike that represents, you know, freedom and adventure. And I think that they have kind of I think they've lost that a little bit over the last kind of 5-10 years or so, as they've kind of pushed a lot of their marketing towards, you know, bar hoppers, you know, looking cool on a motorcycle. I think, you know, that outlaw biker has kind of taken over a little bit. And I think the brand has just been a little bit lost in superficial biker connotations.
I agree. Yeah.
And I think that doesn't speak to most motorcycle riders, and it most certainly doesn't speak to, you know, millennial riders. And I think that if they get back to, you know, get back to their roots, get back to getting on two wheels and hitting the open road in search of new destinations and new experiences and new adventure, and really kind of come through and sell that in their brand and their marketing, I think that they can really kind of take back what it is to be Harley Davidson and to own a Harley Davidson.
Yeah.
Because I think that a lot of people still love the brand. You know, I still see Harley Davidson as a massive pop culture reference in, you know, around culture today. You know, I walk around in the city here and I see young millennials who don't even ride motorcycles wearing Harley Davidsons. I'll see 5 to 10 shirts a day.
Right.
You know, so people recognize the brand as a cool brand, as, you know, the Apple of the, you know, automotive world.
Sure.
And so I think that if they can start actually speaking directly through their marketing with what people want, with that, you know, selling the experience first, not selling the superficial look first, I think that will definitely get Harley back on track to, you know, kind of the brand that we all know and we all know deep inside is what they represent.
Yeah. I mean, I personally like the way that they are trying new bikes, trying to get into different areas, different markets. I like that, and I think that's really important for them as a company to look at this as a global issue. I know a lot of people in the United States don't like that per se, but I think for a company they have to do it. They have to do it. I think it's one of those things, you know, I always quote this kind of Russian proverb or whatever it is, you know, if you're looking forward with one eye and always looking backwards with one eye, you're going to be blind in one eye. However, if you're only looking forwards and you're never looking backwards, you're blind in both eyes.
Right.
So there you go. There's my proverb for you. Basically, I think they've got to hold on to that. They've got to hold on to what makes it special to be a Harley rider, or special to have that riding experience. I agree completely that they've got to ditch this kind of TV biker, cool menace, outlaw kind of thing that has kind of taken over the last 10. That's not a Harley thing. That's the biking culture, I suppose.
It is.
So actually, forget all that. Let's just talk about bikes. Let's just talk about riding. Let's just talk about having a good experience on a bike, you know.
I think as well, like I think we're starting to see a little bit of it with you know, Eagle Rider, if you're familiar with that. I think it's their subsidiary. You know, they're putting out some really good content lately on their Instagram and on their YouTube of kind of getting a group of young friends together and getting them out on bikes and recording the whole thing and, you know, showing these incredible experiences that can be had on a motorbike. And I think that's definitely a great step to see because, you know, motorcyclists and even just, you know, general population can tell looking at an ad that, you know, these people don't ride bikes. You know, when you see the ad, you can just tell straight away that this perfect model isn't a rider. And we don't connect to that. We connect to real people. We connect to real emotion and adventure. And we can see that when the content is made correctly. And so, yeah, hopefully, you know, seeing that Eagle Rider content is the stepping stone into what we can see in the future from Harley as well.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think if you're trying to publish a brood or publicize the brooding, menacing kind of look, then people are going, well, that's not. I'm not like that. But if you can promote the unobstructed joy that somebody will get, you know, that first time feeling, they've got the beaming, cheesy smile, you know, on being on a bike or anything. If you can capture that, that's what you need to promote because that is what people will aspire to. You know, they aspire. Everybody knows at some point in their life they've had that experience of something that has just made them giggle like a little girl, and that's it. You know, that's what they need to work on.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, what was I gonna say? Oh, it's gone. It's left my head. I can't remember. I'll come back to you if I remember it.
Okay. Right. Okay. Last question then. Right. Here we go. Would you ever choose another make of motorcycle, or would you only ever ride Harleys in the future, and why?
Okay, so I have no problem with riding any other motorcycle. I've ridden everything before. It depends on the task at hand. So for my kind of riding, which is all-round riding, so I ride every day of the year, you know, as much as possible. So I commute on my bike. I would go long distance on my bike. I just go down to the shops on my bike. I do everything on my bike. So I need a bike that needs to handle all those tasks. From what I can see right now, that only puts me in the market of, for what I like, adventure bikes and cruisers.
Sure.
And right now, Harley is the only bike that seems to be delivering the excitement of the mundane. And so until another motorcycle can deliver that same excitement of just general commuting, I would probably stick to Harley because it's not just about extreme circumstances. It's also about, you know, what the bike can do, you know, day to day. Can it make you happy just going to work on your normal, you know, Monday morning ride?
Sure. It's interesting you say that about the mundane. Sometimes I get that impression, or not sometimes, a lot of the time I get the impression about a lot of motorcycles. They just kind of, you know.
Sorry, audio's just dropped out. If you can still hear me.
I can hear you. Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Audio's dropped.
Oh. No, I can hear you now. Hello?
Sorry, Rav, can you hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Yeah, I can't hear you coming through. Sorry,
no.
mate.
Hello, can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Hello. Don't worry, everybody. This is just a bit of technical problems here. We'll get through to this last question, and you can just hear my dulcet tones until we actually get this all sorted out. No? Yes? No, okay. Well, never mind. Listen, there's obviously a problem there, but what I was just about to say is that, you know, a lot of the bikes that I think are out there, not Harleys, I'm talking about in general. There's a lack of creativity somewhere, and I've always felt that a lot about the sports bikes, a lot of commuter bikes. So there's a lot of sameness about them. The performance is great, the technology is great, but there is a lot of it's a mundane. There's a lot of it's a bit boring, and I think that's where Harleys and V twins have the edge over that kind of market. In that they're able to produce bikes that are a lot better and a lot more creative. Here we go. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we're back.
Brilliant. Hey,
Sorry about
I've
that,
just gone off on a monologue. Don't worry.
Lovely.
Right. So basically what I was going to say is that, you know, interesting you say about the mundane. So I find that a lot about motorcycling in general, or like sports bikes and commuter bikes. They kind of look all the same. That performance is great, technology is great, but it just doesn't give me that sense of, wow, that's really cool. Whereas with Harleys and V-twins and cafe races and you know, custom bikes, they're head turners, they're conversation starters. They
100%.
give you something more. I built you know, a hardtail bobber a few years ago, and I loved riding that bike. I never got over 30-40 miles an hour, honestly. I mean, it probably wouldn't do it, because it would probably fall apart. But the amount of looks that I got from that bike, the amount of people, all ages, this is, and you know, men and women, you know, boys and girls, whatever, coming up and saying, wow, that's really cool. You get the same thing with it with any kind of creative bike or anything that's a little bit different. Sports bikes, you just don't get it. You don't get it.
And I think that, like, that's kind of where Harley riders and, you know, sports bike riders, or kind of just, you know, general naked bike riders kind of tend to differ.
Yeah.
Because, you know, it's very easy to look at a Harley and say, hey, that's overpriced. I don't see the value in that.
Yeah.
But if you're somebody who enjoys the whole experience of the motorcycle, so it's not just the way that it rides and performs, but the way that it feels, the way that it looks, the way that everything engages with, you know, man and machine.
Yeah.
That's when you start to really see the value, and you appreciate the value of a Harley Davidson or an expensive adventure bike or whatever it might be.
Yeah. Well, that's brilliant. Right, listen, let me ask you one final question.
Please.
What you are called the motor barista? Why?
Yes.
Why are you the motor barista? I think I already know this. I know this answer, but go on.
The short answer: I ride motorcycles. I drink damn fine coffee.
Man.
But look, I've been working in the coffee industry for my entire kind of career. And I'm a general manager, operations manager for a coffee company here in Perth, Australia.
What's that?
That's
Who's
so my role is essentially you know, buying coffee and creating menus at our cafes, training all of our staff, working with our chef to develop menus for the kitchen. Also develop like education programs and training programs for baristas professionally and for at home. Nice,
right. So that's why motor barista. I love it.
Yeah,
I love it.
That's it. Yeah.
You need to get a video of you riding with a coffee cup holder and a
funny
straw.
thing you say that. I have a Kuriakin coffee cup holder to mount onto the bike. It just looks so bad that I've never put it on. It's too big.
You see, we're on the same wavelength. Yeah, I know. It would be ridiculous. I know.
I know.
It would be a great. I've got a video.
For the gram.
I've got a video which I want to make, and I haven't made it yet. It's about cooking on my motorcycle. I want to cook a meal on my motorcycle, and I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I think in the summer when it gets really hot. So I might give you an idea there. Go cook a meal on your motorcycle, see how it works.
Yeah, nice.
Right. Anyway, listen, it's been great talking to you. Thank you. Everybody check out your channel, the Motor Barista, on YouTube and also on Instagram as well. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for all those answers and those questions.
Pleasure. No, thanks for hosting.
No, it's great. And look, it's been a real good insight into, you know, riding in Western Australia. I love it. I mean, I love, you know, hearing about people who are riding in different parts of the world, you know, whether on Harleys or not, but it's been fantastic. And I've learned
if you have it over.
Sorry?
said, well, if you're ever over, you know.
Oh yeah,
hit
well
up.
I've got a couple of friends over in Perth anyway, so there we go.
Oh, fantastic.
They work for the emergency services out there, so there we go.
Oh, cool.
I may one day come over and say hello.
Excellent.
But anyway, look, thanks very much for joining me, and everybody out there. Hope you enjoyed that as well. So there are more Oh My Harleys coming very soon. And on the channel, but please like, share, subscribe, leave your comments below, and check out the website RevelatorAlf.com. Go check out the Motor Barista on YouTube. Really cool videos, you'll really like them. They're really cinematic. Got some great info as well. If you're on Instagram, do that Instagram-y type social media stuff. Go check him out there as well, because that's really cool imagery as well. Right. It's a bye from me and Happy New Year from me.
Yeah, thanks everyone for watching, and see you all soon.
Okay, right, lovely, right. Ta-da now.